has taken over.
Let's go.
It's Ferrall.
Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money.
It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
All right, Carver High, let's get into hour 3 and keep rocking the baseball, Skinny, for the fans. We got a lot of games that matter tonight.
Yes, just a couple more things before we do get to tonight's games. Now, the Cardinals beat the Diamondbacks 6-4 yesterday. They swept them. They beat them up all weekend. The story, Scotty, was Saturday night. Albert Pujols, 2 more homers. Now it's 692. Here's his second one off of Mad Bum Saturday on Bally Sports Midwest.
3-2 pitch. Albert again! Left center! It is gone! He's done it again! 2 home runs tonight! 692! He's amazing! Remarkable! Incredible! Is this real?
I mean, he is locked in right now, Carver High. He's been hitting a bunch of them lately, and he's 8 shy of 700. He did say, though, he's not coming back next year. He's either going to do it or he isn't.
Nope, they asked him about it yesterday, and he's sticking to his guns, Scotty. I'm done. He doesn't matter if he gets to 699. He is not coming back next year for 1 home run. Look, we've talked about this a few times now, and he keeps having these days where he hits 2. When he hits 2 in a game, that really speeds it up and gives him more of a shot. 8 to go, about 5 weeks left in the season. Gonna need to face a lot of lefties to do it, but every time he has a day like Saturday, he does get a little closer to having a chance. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, he's got 5 weeks, which would mean 1 a week, and then 1 week or 2 where he sprinkles in 2 in the week, and it's a done deal. I think he can actually hit 1 home run a week. He's getting 5 at-bats. He's a DH, and he can go out there and swing away. I'm starting to think he's going to do it.
I mean, he just needs, if he can get another heater what's he got in the last 2 weeks? He's got at least 4 or 5 in the last 2 weeks, right? I mean, he's been on fire. Let's hope he can get there. And get himself to that 700. Wild game yesterday between the Mets and the Phillies in Philadelphia, Scotty. The Phillies jumped on the Mets very early. We mentioned earlier, 2 3-run homers from Alec Boehm. The Mets come all the way back, get the game tied with a Mark Canha home run in the 7th. Phillies take the lead on a Gene Segura homer in the 8th. And then in the 9th, Scotty, Canha again for the Mets on SNY to give him the lead.
2-2. Fly ball left field. Back goes Maton looking up at the wall, and it's out of here! Mark Canha gives the Mets the lead with his 2nd home run of the day. Unbelievable! Canha ties it in the 7th, gives the Mets the lead in the 9th. It's 9-8 New York.
I mean, that is like a badass day for Canha, no doubt about it. I mean, how clutch was this guy? In the 9th inning, he hits it. I mean, to tell you, I was like, you got to be kidding me, because when I saw Segura's go out, I thought, that's it. And then I couldn't even believe my eyes when he hit it. And I was like, they're going to walk out of here with this guy hitting this home run. He's already hit one. He hits another. I mean, they are no joke. And, while the Yankees are struggling miserably, the Mets keep kicking everyone's ass. We welcome all of our radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Sports Map, Sports Byline. Good to have you with us on Coast to Coast on a Misery Monday. Mets look ferocious going into this Subway Series tonight. I don't want any part of that pitching or their bats right now, the way the Yankees can't hit anything.
No, you do not. And I did look. Canha is in the lineup, Scotty. I told you that he hits Herman very well. 7 for 11 with a homer and 3 doubles, 3 RBIs. He's hitting .636 against Domingo Herman. He is hitting
He'll hit
7th
another one tonight.
He's hitting 7th tonight for the Mets. So there you go for Canha. He's involved. The Padres, Scotty, needed a win yesterday to avoid being swept by the Nationals of all teams. You were talking about it with Bob. Here's Josh Bell, Scotty, providing all the offense they would need on Sunday afternoon at Petco on Bally Sports San Diego.
Bell in the air to deep right towards the Petco porch. Good to go! For a second straight day, Josh Bell with a big one, and the Padres lead for the first time today.
I mean, Bell comes up big, and we already know he can hit home runs and drive in runs. The guy's a 300 hitter, and he can drive the ball. So, I mean, I think he's been as good as Soto has since they came over from the Nationals. I think Bell's put up the same kind of numbers.
Yeah, you could really make a case he's had bigger hits. It seems like we've a lot more of Bell when the Padres have gotten it done, but that's still a bad weekend. You can't lose 2 out of 3 to the Washington Nationals at home.
Horrible.
That's just a really, really awful job. All right, the Padres are giving Josh Hader a little break, Scotty, from the closer role after racking up a 16.2 ERA since joining the team. Not a good. He had a bad one Friday night too. He was awful Friday night also.
Listen, I stand by what I said for weeks now since he was in Milwaukee. Something is wrong with his arm. They got rid of him because they know something's wrong with him. He has gone to San Diego and imploded because there's something wrong with him. He is damaged goods. I guarantee you we're going to hear his arm shot when the season's over.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. Pregame. Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid. Fantasy Sports Today.
Take a look at those numbers. Do you think that he's being drafted about where he should, which is not being drafted at all?
I don't think he's your quarterback of the future. I think you are going to have to upgrade eventually. I understand the problem that Detroit's in. If you don't have a top 3, top 4 pick, it's hard to get that quarterback unless you're willing to give up all those picks. Do I think he's average? I think that's what you're shooting for. And I think he can be average, which might be good enough for this team for the the immediate future here.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
The St. Louis Cardinals and then the Milwaukee Brewers moving in opposite directions. If we're just looking for lineup prowess here, 1 through 9, by far, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. My thought process isn't going to change, even if the two schedules, flip back and forth, and we might be looking at a dead heat once we're around September 15th. I still trust the Cardinals more than I do the Brewers, because if I need base hits, I can get them with the Cardinals.
Only on Sports Grid. Ferrall, coast to coast.
Pickett was the only quarterback selected in the first round for a reason. Super accurate, good athlete, playing that same stadium in Pittsburgh. This is a good situation for him. I like the way Mike Tomlin is handling this. He's not naming anybody starting quarterback. Does Trubisky have the upper hand? Yes, that's a fact. But he's going to let Pickett get more reps here. Your guy Pickett, with your team, the Steelers, this is our future quarterback.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now. We take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio. Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Carver, how did you watch the Little League Classic with the major leaguers playing? You had the Orioles going at it with the Red Sox.
I actually did watch a little bit of it. I turned it on for 2 or 3 innings. It was cool. That ballpark's weird. The big blue background out in center field. You know what it is? It's for the kids, Scotty. All the kids sitting there in the stands. That part I like about it. The kids get to see a major league game up close without all the nonsense that goes on. I think that part of it is really cool. You had the Orioles out in the outfield with them before the game, sliding down on the cardboard, going down the hill sledding. So all in all, a nice showing by the Orioles and the Red Sox. And the best part, Scotty, the Red Sox lost. Orioles beat them 5-3 last night in Williamsport. So they take 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Reds beat the Pirates yesterday. Astros beat the Braves to avoid the sweep down there in Atlanta. Tigers beat the Angels 4-0. Nice job by Ohtani. Had a stomach bug. Started anyway. Made it about 3 innings. Started to get shelled and took himself out. He is not in the lineup for the Angels tonight, Scotty, down in Tampa when they take on the Rays. So no Ohtani tonight in that matchup at the Trop. The Rays beat the Royals. Rangers beat the Twins. Giants beat the Rockies in 11. That was almost a real bad weekend for them as well. The kid Langoliers, Scotty, had the go-ahead hit for the A's again. Had an RBI triple for them to beat the Mariners and Louis Castillo also yesterday. So there's your Sunday in baseball. Tomorrow, Scotty, when I have more time, I'm going to give you all the standings. We always like to look at the standings updated at the beginning of the week. We'll do that tomorrow instead. I have too many games to get to with you for tonight. So let's start in PNC with the Buccos and the Braves. We've got Contreras against Jake Odorizzi tonight. Braves road favorites -200, Scotty. Pirates +165. Total of 9 at PNC tonight.
Yeah, I love the over here. How in God's name are the Pirates going to stop that Atlanta lineup from absolutely teeing off on them and scoring all kinds of runs? I'm on the Braves. It's my number 1 play on FerrallOnTheBench.com, hands down.
We mentioned that Noah Syndergaard goes for the Phillies tonight in Philadelphia against the Reds. They have Luis Cessa going. -250, Phillies, the heavy lumber at home. 8.5 is the total.
Yeah, I like the Phillies, obviously, Syndergaard, and the over based on the fact that Cessa gives up 6-7 runs a game.
Not very often, Scotty, that you get the Yankees as underdogs at home. You do tonight with Max Scherzer coming in with the Mets. Scherzer against Domingo Germán. Mets -160, Yankees +135, 7.5 the total.
I have to bet on Scherzer, I have to bet on the Mets, and I have to bet on the over because I just think Germán's going to get lit up by those Met bats. I mean, they kicked their ass at City, and I'm not looking for anything different here. The Mets are winning, scoring 10 runs a game, and they're winning every game they play, and the Yankees can't score a run. This is going to be all based on what the Mets do in terms of the total for me. There's no way I'm getting off Scherzer against a team that can't get a run or hit.
The Yankees, I mean, the Mets have just been scoring a ton of runs lately. I mean, every single night, Scotty, putting big numbers up on the board. Angels are at the Trop, like I mentioned. No Ohtani in the lineup. Left the game yesterday against the Tigers. Trout is in the lineup for the Angels. Davidson against Springs tonight. Rays -225, +180 for the Angels. Total flat 7 tonight at the Trop.
Look, I'm on the over here as well because Davidson's ERA is about 7. He's a disaster, and I think Springs will eat him alive, and the Rays are going to light it up. No Ohtani. Now, Trout might have a game. Who knows? But I like the over. I'm still going Rays. I don't care what Trout does. He'd have to hit 2 or 3 home runs tonight for them to win this game. No one else on the Angels does anything.
No, they are not very good at all. Twins and Rangers tonight in Minneapolis. Reagans goes for Texas. Sonny Gray on the mound for the Twins. -200, +165 for Texas. 8.5 is the total.
I mean, I know this is crazy. I'm going over again because Reagan's gives up so many runs, I can't keep track of it. And Sonny Gray has pitched really well for the Twins, so there's no way I'm going off him. And I'm going on the over because I think that, they're rolling out a guy that gives up 6-7 runs a game.
The Cardinals visit Wrigley Field tonight. They're going to play a lot of games there over the next few days, Scotty. Doubleheader tomorrow at Wrigley as well. Jordan Montgomery goes for the Redbirds tonight. Drew Smyly for the Cubs. Cardinals minus 165. Total flat 8 in this one.
Listen, I think Thompson and Smyly are probably the Cubs' two best offerings when they get sent out to the hill, right? But I have to take Montgomery. The lefty has been brilliant in 3 starts for the Cardinals. He's given up nothing. He's had all kinds of strikeouts. He's been fantastic. His ERA with the Cardinals is almost a run. I mean, the guy has been shockingly good in St. Louis. He was never this good in the Bronx or for the Yankees on the road. The Cardinals, with the steal of the deadline right now, we haven't seen Bader, so I think Montgomery, how do I get off of him? I'm betting on the Cardinals here, and I actually think this is an under tonight at Wrigley, unless the wind's blowing out. If it's not blowing out, give me the under.
We always got to get that weather report before wagering on a game at Wrigley Field, that's for sure. West Coast now. The Fish, after getting swept in Los Angeles by the Dodgers, Marlins are at the Ashtray to take on the A's, Scotty. Edward Cabrera goes for them. Aller goes for the Athletics. Marlins road favorite minus 145, plus $1.20 for the A's. 7.5 the total tonight.
I mean, Aller loses every time he pitches, right? So I'm taking a flyer on Cabrera with his 1.78 ERA. Now, remember, that's based on 30 innings of work. So don't buy that he's some genius one-run-a-game pitcher. He's not. And don't buy that he's 3-1 and he's dominant and all this other stuff. Yep. I am taking a risk with the Marlins, and there's only one team lower that I'll bet on tonight. It would be Kansas City. I don't want to buy this bet, but if I had to, I'd take Miami.
Yeah, Kansas City, by the way, that actually a day game, 4-4. Royals and the White Sox in the 8th inning right now, out at Kauffman. Little makeup game there. So the Royals 4-4 right now in the 8th. And you're right about the Marlins, because remember, they can't score either. So as great as those ERAs look on a lot of their pitchers, they don't score a lot of runs, so always very dangerous. Finally, Brewers and the Dodgers tonight in Los Angeles. Lauer goes for Milwaukee. Urias goes for the Dodgers. Minus 250, plus 200 for Milwaukee. 7.5 the total.
I mean, this was a great game last week, but I'm going Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium. I think it's going to be an under. I think both pitchers are really good. I think Lauer's tough. I think Urias is tough. So give me LA. My 1, 2, 3 was Braves, Mets, Dodgers. And by the way, I had the Royals in that game that's 4-4.
There you go. That is tonight in Major League Baseball, Scotty. Let's cash a lot of tickets. Let's get some taters. Let's get the strikeouts. Let's get the games. Let's get it all here on a Monday. All right, we'll come back. We got a lot to squeeze in before you talk to Adam Kaplan. We got NBA news. New Durant and Donovan Mitchell rumors for you, Scotty. We've got lines for college football because guess what? College football starts this week. We have games on Saturday. What? I give you the early week lines today on Coast to Coast. What are we looking at for week 0 on Saturday? Let's go.
I mean, this is fantastic. We got college football this week, and we don't have to sit around with this nonsense NFL preseason. These games count. I don't even care who's playing. Let's get it on college football. And then next Saturday, Ohio State and Notre Dame. LSU, Florida State. It's all evolving rapidly.
The morning after.
The most important thing about preseason is making sure you get the key numbers of 1 and 2. Very, very important in preseason football. If a team's down 17-10, 50 seconds left in the game, they get a touchdown, you can guarantee the final score is going to be 17-16 or 18-7. They're going for 2. They're just trying to win the game, and it doesn't count anyway. So therefore, the 2 and the 1 becomes real important.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
This was a surprise to me. I was anticipating a much harsher ruling on Deshaun Watson. It's hard to view this as not a win for the Deshaun Watson side of things, Donnie. They lost big time on this overall result, Kevin. There is going to be moments where other players in the NFL mess up. The precedent is set here that the NFL, not too serious about stuff like this.
Only on Sports Grid. Ferrall, coast to coast.
How impressive do you think the Phillies are with Thor in that rotation with Wheeler, Nola, and it goes on and on?
I just think Atlanta has a shot not only to beat Philly, but clearly has a chance to beat the Mets. They imposed their will in the first 2 games in the series. The Mets look like they're going to be able to just, ride this down to the end and salt away the division. But it'll be a very interesting dynamic when those 2 teams play against each other.
The Sports Grid Network.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow into the $1.3 trillion business of sports with your daily numbers game. Well, Bob Chapek and Disney certainly know how to inspire. And remember, their fourth quarter earnings of last year said, we're flat, so let's get to a point where gaming is a central focus of ours. A little controversy at Disney relative to Florida. But the bottom line is it doesn't impact the gaming industry as well. And it's rumored to be a bottom line mega deal with DraftKings or Caesars or others to generate significant dollars. They were also looking at the hub of a wheel to be up to $3 billion in revenue enhancement over time. That may not be the way they cut the deal. They may partner with a large company and take little risk, maybe a little less revenue. However they do it, Chapek said the announcement is coming soon, and Disney, as they usually do, will dominate the space. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Daily Numbers.
Hey, don't forget, you gotta get the BetMGM app and put that on your smartphone or Android, whatever it is. I mean, you gotta have this app. It's the greatest thing ever for everything. How about this? You can bet $10 on a major league game, and you get $200 if either team hits a home run. It happens every game. Use the bonus code MLBHR2022. Bet $10, win $200 if either team hits a homer. Bonus code, remember, MLBHR 2022 from our friends at BetMGM, the king sportsbooks.
They certainly are. Go and get the 200. Plenty of good opportunities tonight in Major League Baseball to go and get it, Scotty. All right, I have NBA news for you from the last couple of days, or hours, we should say, too. The Grizzlies are now allegedly in the mix for Kevin Durant. That report came out this morning that the Grizzlies are talking to the Nets about possibly adding Kevin Durant with Ja Morant, Scotty. That would be quite the mix if they could put those two together.
Well, if you're the Nets, you want Ja Morant and Jackson in a deal for Kevin Durant, and the Grizzlies have made it known that they will not get rid of either Durant, or of Ja Morant or Jackson or Bane. They're not going to get rid of any of the three in a trade. And they said that they would be able to, maybe pry 5 draft picks from them. Well, if they're all number 1 draft picks, I mean, because you're not going to get Ja, you're not going to get Jaren. So, and I don't even want Bane. I mean, Bane's good, but I mean, I'm not doing a deal for Bane and Durant, okay? But let's get simple. If you want to trade him to the Grizzlies, give me all 5 first-round draft picks right now. Give me all 5 and you can have it. Because he's a cancer. So if I'm going to get 5 first-rounders out of this, I think I'd do it. I mean, I don't want Bane.
But what kind of first-rounders are those going to? The Grizzlies are going to be good for the next few years. Like, I don't know. What are you, 22nd, 27th pick? Like, I don't know. That's just not enough for me. You need guys who are going to help you now. And I get he's a cancer, and I know you got to get rid of him.
They got to get rid of him.
You got to get something in return that can actually make you a viable team right now. You can't take it just for draft picks that might be in the high 20s.
They're not getting. So good. They're not getting Jaylen Brown. They're not getting Tatum. Yeah. They're not dealing with Boston and they won't even give up Williams. So nobody wants to give up anything. And so what you've got is you've got Durant basically doing hard labor with the Nets in a prison. I mean, bottom line is if they keep this guy, they've already said today they're not trading Kyrie Irving. They basically said that today.
Yeah.
And if they keep this malcontent, they are going to have a massive problem on their hands. Now, you're probably right about what these first-round picks are in terms of exact positioning. Fair enough. But, at the end of the day, at some level, they got to get rid of him. And no one's willing to deal with anything that they want. They've had not one team even come close to a deal. So what is the 5 first-rounders, if that's what they are, what are they? And then, we don't know what else the deal is. If you give me 5 first-rounders in Bane, would you take that?
No. I don't think it's enough. I'd honestly so then
don't
keep
trade him at all then.
I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him. I'd keep him. What's he going to do, throw games on purpose? I'd make him play for you.
Probably.
That's what I would do. I mean, that's how I would go. There's also been talk that if he does end up staying with the Nets, that they'd bring in Carmelo Anthony, Scotty. Carmelo will play with the Nets if Durant stays. That'll be fun, getting him out there.
Let me be clear about Melo. Melo's legs are shot. He plays no defense and cannot run at all anymore. And if you don't believe me, they already gave his number away in LA. He's done playing with the Lakers. Yeah. All right, so they already saw enough to know that he's shot. He had the good year up in the Northwest, right? And then went to the Lakers, and he did nothing with the Lakers at all. And now you're going even further into the basement. Like he went from the upstairs up in the Northwest, filling it up with Portland. Then he went down to the kitchen level with the Lakers. And now he's going down into the basement where they keep, the scary people in horror movies. That's where his career is now, down by the cooler when they get the bodies in the basement. That's where he's going. I don't want anything to do with that crickety old man. All he can do is shoot. He can't even jump. He doesn't shoot a jump shot anymore. He shoots a standing free throw every shot he takes because his legs are so shot. And don't buy into, he's had the greatest offseason. His workouts are incredible down at the Sky Gym in Manhattan. Trust me, he is finished.
Finished. I wouldn't even waste my time putting Carmelo Anthony on
honestly
this year.
What is next with this team? What is next?
The Knicks' allegedly latest offer for Donovan Mitchell is Obi Toppin, Evan Fournier, and 5 first-round picks. Some also believe, Scotty, that Thibodeau prefers to deal R.J. Barrett instead of Quentin Grimes. He would rather part with Barrett than Grimes in a potential deal for Mitchell. What about you?
Well, first of all, that's why I think he's an idiot. Second of all, he's the defensive coach in the league. That he's the best defensive coach in the league is nonsense because the Knicks give up 130 points a game. Their defense got worse since he's been the head coach. Third of all, Barrett is better than Grimes. Fourth of all, Spider isn't worth 5 first-round draft picks from any team, let alone the Knicks. And lastly, but not least, I don't even want to give up Obi Toppin. Fans love him. The guy's a high Skywalker dunks. I think if they played him, he could actually perform. Thibodeau thinks he sucks, and Thibodeau thinks everybody sucks, and I think Thibodeau sucks. How's that sound for dinner?
I think Thibodeau's nuts. if he thinks that he'd rather have Grimes than R.J. Barrett. And that's nothing against Grimes. R.J. Barrett is finally starting to become a player, like a very useful player in the NBA.
Right.
That would just be a silly
Grimes
thing.
shoots the ball every time he has it. He doesn't see anything on the floor except his hand flying in the air, shooting shots. How many times did you see him come in last year, and every time he touches it, he shoots it? He is a ball hog, and he just wants his. And there's nothing worse to me than hero ball. Nothing worse. I don't deny Grimes can score, but he shoots way too much for my taste. He doesn't see the game or his teammates. A guy will have an open layup cutting on the backside off a pick and roll, and he wouldn't pass to him if the guy had free hot dogs on the grill.
He is a high volume chucker. That's for sure. Your boy Grimes. Chet Holmgren lefty crossover pro-am with an ankle injury. Like the whole world descended upon that crossover pro-am up there up in Seattle, Scotty. Holmgren with an ankle injury while he was up there. That's what you need.
Blame
guys
the wet
getting
floor.
hurt.
Blame the wet floor. They canceled the game.
Yeah, Horace Grant put his 3 Bulls championship rings up for auction in case you want to get involved with that. Udonis Haslem back for another year in Miami just to be Spoelstra's personal bodyguard. The only reason that they keep Haslem on the Heat is because he doesn't play. He doesn't play. He's just on the bench to guard Spoelstra from getting into a fight with Jimmy Butler. Good news for the Knicks. Derrick Rose is good to go after ankle surgery. That's what they needed. Did you see the pictures of James Harden all ripped up and working out this summer? No more Marshmallow Man for Harden. He looks good.
I mean, I got to give him credit. I mean, he went on the carb diet. No carbs, no bread, no donuts, nothing good, no junk food. He lost at least 15 pounds. His gut and fat, chubby Santa Claus is gone. He looks completely flat and ripped. A lot like me, Shake Adam.
There you go. The Las Vegas Aces advanced to the WNBA semifinals after beating Phoenix. All right, it is time. We're going to do this a lot this week, but it's Monday, and there's college football on Saturday, and we need to know where the lines sit early on in the week. I'm only giving you a couple of the big games. Look, there's really not that many big games this week, but there's college football. Who cares? In Dublin, Northwestern and Nebraska, 12.5 right now for Scott Frost and the Huskers. UConn, Scotty, getting 27 and a hook against Utah State. Wyoming and Illinois and Champaign with the 10-point spread.
Your boy, Gopher to 2, Joe Lisi, was on, if I remember correctly, Northwestern with the number.
Yes,
and, he's on Wyoming with the number in Champaign-Urbana. They're going to go to Illinois and F with the Big Ten Illini. Yeah, okay. Yep. And then he's also all over Vandy against Hawaii. I see you're going to throw that one up next. Those are the ones I remember he gave me.
Oh, I know that he's on Vandy because I love Hawaii in the late-night bailout blowout on Saturday night, baby. If there's one thing Hawaii doesn't do, Scotty, it's not cover at home in week number 1. If they're at home in week 1, Hawaii covers. Vandy sucks. You got Nevada, New Mexico State, North Texas and UTEP, Charlotte, and Florida Atlantic. Later in the week, I'll have the lines for the really tough games for you, like Florida State against Duquesne and all those other ones. We'll get you those later in the week.
Yeah, those are so bad they won't even put spreads out. The one that stands out to me, frankly, is, now I know Dubes is gone and everything else, but listen, New Mexico State literally hasn't won a college football game since before Christ, and they're getting like 9.5 or something from Nevada. Nevada should be able to beat them by 2 touchdowns or more. That's just all there is to it.
Yes. Tomorrow I will go over this Heisman Trophy thing with you, Scotty. Tomorrow, national title tomorrow. Patrick Cantley won the BMW Championship yesterday in Delaware, Scotty. Nice job by you.
That's golf. Great.
Ferrall, Coast to Coast.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. $1 billion a year for a $7 billion deal, and we know that UCLA and USC are on board next year, right? This is what it's all about for the Big Ten, cornering the market in terms of the national viewership perspective. Doesn't get better than this. From 2023 and beyond, which team and which conference can capture the biggest market?
The Sports Grid Network. The morning after.
How would you try to fix what is happening with the Yankees currently?
I personally don't think it's time to smash the panic button yet. Something Aaron Judge said the other day, better to go on a run like this now in mid-August when you have a bit of a cushion in the division than when you're right about to go into October or when you are in October. They have the experienced veterans who have been there before. They have the youthful talent, but you got to get hot at the right time. You got to lean on depth in the pitching staff.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
This guy looks just as good as Aaron Jones, and if Green Bay decided to dial it back a little bit on the passing, then A.J. Dillon could certainly be a star running the ball. This is Aaron Rodgers' team still at this point. He decided to come back. Did he decide to come back to hand the ball off, 40 times a game?
I love A.J. Dillon. Like I said, I think this guy on a normal team kills it. Absolutely kills it here. But Dillon's going to have a lot of touchdowns this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he approached double digits.
The Sports Grid Network.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all three major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at sicscore.com.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top four seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play
Aaron
less.
Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like Orlando
Fantasy
Magic.
Sports
The
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Ferrall Coast to
PPG,
Coast.
that's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time
Kind
decisions.
of bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live all
I
access.
like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take a 4.5.
In-game live. Prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live. Overtime.
All done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid.
Adam Kaplan is our NFL insider on Sports Grid and Coast to Coast, and we bring him in now. He's getting ready in Philadelphia for another and last trip of the preseason. He's heading down to South FLA to check in on the nerd, the great McDaniel, who I like this coach. We've been intrigued by him and his funny press conferences where he seems to torture the media. He's very bright. And he obviously plays games manipulating their questions and funny expressions. And he's, he's doing all this stuff when he's doing interviews. I get a kick out of him. And now really all that doesn't matter in that all that matters is winning football games. His fancy handling of the press aside, we got to see this guy win in Miami. That's all they care about. Are you looking forward to seeing this guy at work in your last trip here of the preseason?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I was with the Dolphins for 2 days in Tampa. But now you flip it 2 weeks later. They've developed the roster better. Tua's gotten off to a good start. I want to talk to the people that I know in the front office, see if I get something out of the coaching staff about how it's working so far with McDaniel and Tua. Now, look, McDaniel was on NFL radio, Sirius NFL radio last week, and he said all the right things, but until they work together in the regular season, you're not going to know if this is going to work. We all know about their chase of Deshaun Watson and other quarterbacks over the last year or so, obviously Tom Brady and that story. But the fact of the matter is for this season, and there's no question about it, Tua is their quarterback. and they have to see if he can be the guy past the season. And we've heard great things about the accuracy he's had in training camp, but the timing and how he's a good fit for this offense. But the fact of the matter is they've not played a regular season game yet, and they've got a lot of talent there. Remember now with that Tyreek Hill trade. So lots to dissect, and I look forward to talking to the Dolphins this week.
He said that Tua's last week, his passes that he's seen him throw are the most accurate passes he's ever seen in the NFL, and that just can't be right. But he claims it is. Do you believe him?
Here's the thing. He's a new coach, and you and I were talking off there. He's very quirky. Sometimes he says things, and you shake your head. Look, he's around him every day, and I from what I'm told, Tua's raised his accuracy. There's no question. He's been more accurate. In that scheme, that Dolphin scheme, that is a Kyle Shanahan old school West Coast offense. It creates space to throw the football. Jimmy Garoppolo got to the Super Bowl, got the 2 championship games in this scheme. You can do well in it. You don't have to have a great arm to do well in it. That's what Garoppolo showed. So we're going to learn a lot about Tua. This is certainly, you and I are going to talk right before the season starts about storylines and what works and what doesn't work. That is absolutely one of the top storylines, how Tua does with Mike McDaniel.
All right, before we get into the news of the day in Carolina and some Commanders news as well, I have to ask you about this. Speaking of tampering, how is it that this story surfaced this weekend that the Raiders tried to allegedly steal Tom Brady and Gronkowski to play in Las Vegas, and that Brady was actually looking for houses out there, and that Gronkowski says it's all true? Well, then if it's true, it's tampering. And then secondly, Carver High told me the story about the Mother Ferrall comments about quarterbacks are not directed at Fitzpatrick, but actually at Derek Carr because of even Dana White saying allegedly there's way more to this story than just the fact that Brady and Gronk were going to play for the Raiders. Explain this to me, how this isn't tampering.
All right, first of all, this I could tell you because I did reporting on this over 2 years ago. So during free agency in March of 2020, remember now, Tom Brady was a free agent, but not until the middle of March. So my understanding was back then, the Raiders had done their homework on Brady. They backed out, though. I'm told it was the Raiders who backed out. They were not comfortable for what Brady was looking for. It wasn't just money. There were certain perks that Mark Davis, the owner, according to multiple sources with the club, told me that they were not comfortable with, so they backed out, and that was that. But I do know that this certainly was in the works, and this was their offseason plan in 2020 to go get Brady. That is true. Now, Dana White's story, I can't confirm all of it, but I know from my sourcing and my sources here that the Raiders were going to go all in, but they were not comfortable with some of the things that Brady's side wanted. And as you know, they would stick with Derek Carr, and then they, in a year and a half later, they would wind up extending his contract. But that situation, yet again, the apple of the eye for yet another team was Tom Brady.
All right, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. He got the job from Matt Rule, and I like the way Rule handled it and got it over with. The other situation being, like, we still don't know if it's Trubisky or Pickett, and we just have to keep dragging it out and playing this game. I like the way Rule just said, he's the starter, that's it.
All right, so a couple things here. Just before we get to the Panthers. Trubisky, if the season started right now, as I understand it, would be the starter, but they're not naming him yet. Because Pickett's done so well, they want to give him a little bit more. But getting over to the Panthers, talking to them, spending a couple days with them last week, it was so obvious, as I told you on Coast to Coast last week, that Mayfield was a clear leader, and They cleared it up today. And here's what I'm told by multiple team sources. And this is interesting because learning a West Coast offense, Ben McAdoo, as you know, is their new offensive coordinator. This is not an easy offense to learn. This is new terminology. This is yet, I'm told, at least the fourth different offense that Mayfield has to learn as a professional in his 5 years. And from the very start, Ferrall, they kind of knew it. I'm told after 2 weeks, he was so dominant over Darnold. It wasn't bad, but Mayfield was a clear leader. And he punctuated it last week, and they knew he was the starter, and they named him today. But the fact of the matter is his timing was good. I'm told a couple of the throws are a little bit high. They feel that the timing will be better as these guys work together. DJ Moore has been a star of training camp. They extended his contract with former first-round pick out of Maryland. Robbie Anderson's kind of revived his career in training camp. But Mayfield has taken to this West Coast offense, and he's done very, very well. It's just rare that a guy comes in, does not spend any time with his team in the offseason and dominates in practice. I saw it last week in Foxborough. He was really good. And another thing, he took a majority of the first team reps over the last week or so. It just made it obvious. And to your point, everyone knew this was the case. The rule just ended the speculation, because everyone with the club knew, even the reporters there knew. Baker Mayfield was the starter. He just earned it. It wasn't that they're just handing it to him. He actually earned it, was dominant, quite frankly, in training camp. And I look forward to seeing how this team will do. Now, they're going to be a run-first offense, though. Make no mistake about it with Christian McCaffrey. This is what Matt Rule wanted. Matt Rule, in the end, made a decision to make this trade. He has personnel control. This is what he wanted. But unfortunately, the one negative here is Matt Corral was lost for the season. He broke his foot in the preseason game. But they'll have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. P.J. Walker was Rule's starter. If you remember, Temple was in the top 10 many years ago with Rule as the head coach. And P.J. Walker is his quarterback. So that's it. Mayfield is the starter for the Carolina Panthers.
Was it the same foot that he busted the ankle in the bowl game, Corral, that he broke this time?
I'm not sure, but I know this. It's actually, to be clear here, it's a Liz Frank injury. It's the bad one, the full-blown midfoot break, and that is a 9-month deal, man. That's a shame. He wasn't going to play anyway this season. They want to bring him along slowly anyway, but unfortunately, he will not be able to get reps in practice because this is the bad one. An injury I first covered back in 2000, Ferrall, when Deuce Staley, the Eagles running back, had that first time, I think the late John Clayton mentioned this. It was the Liz Frank injury. And we've seen this, and some players don't come back from it very well. And you just got to let this thing heal. And it's at least a 9-month rehab.
I have to tell you, if it is, and I don't know, but if it is the same foot that he busted the ankle and now he's busted his foot, I mean, that guy's got a problem with that foot now. I think, frankly, if that's the case for the rest of his career, you break your ankle that badly and then you break your foot that badly, don't tell me he doesn't have a foot problem. For the rest of his career, that's going to be a nightmare. You don't just break your foot and break your ankle and it's ever the same. It doesn't work that way. I've broken every bone in my body 5 times over. Trust me, they don't heal that way. I know they have great doctors, but you will have that lingering problem forever. I broke my hand in 5 places. It's never been the same ever. Let me ask you this. Mayfield's labrum on the other shoulder, not the non-throwing shoulder, I think prohibited him from being Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. I thought he tried to be a tough guy and play through it. I thought it made him a horrible quarterback last year, but I don't believe he's a horrible quarterback at all. Obviously, he's healthy and has looked fantastic to you.
By the way, in our first season here on Coast to Coast in 2020, you and I talked about how the Browns shocked the world, shocked your Steelers, and how Baker Mayfield was a big reason. So you flipped the script to 2021, and he was never healthy. I'm told he had at least 3 injuries, Ferrall, the most of which was the left labrum tear, which got repaired, but he's good to go. And you're absolutely right. He was not right. In fact, they should have benched him. I don't know why they would not play Case Keenum, who was then traded to Buffalo. But the fact of the matter is now it's Baker Mayfield's run, and they believe, I could tell you, they believe they're going to make a run this season with Baker Mayfield. They had probably one of the best off seasons of every team here. All 32 teams. They've addressed every big-time issue. 4 new starters for the offensive line. New starting quarterback. Depth everywhere. Christian McCaffrey back. J.C. Horn back, their outstanding second-year corner, the first-round pick that we talked about last year. So I believe, and I told you this last week, they're going to make a run. They're going to be a wild card team, and they're going to go way over the total of 6.5 wins.
All right, let's talk about the Commanders, because all we ever talk about is Carson Wentz, but all of a sudden it looks like they might have a situation in their backfield.
This is a surprise. I could tell you from talking to Washington, Ferrall, they were not expecting this. But right now, if the season started today, it would probably be Brian Robinson, the 3rd-round pick out of Alabama as a starter, not Antonio Gibson, who was a clear starter. Talking to Washington, Ferrall, they wanted Robinson to spell Gibson, who was 4th in total carries in the NFL last season, in his 2nd season, but fumbling problems once again. And I'm also told he's just not instinctive. He doesn't have the great feel for Robinson, who's a better power runner inside. And Robinson started this past game against the Chiefs, and Gibson caught the ball well out of the backfield in this game, but he's not had a great training camp. And this is certainly been one of the biggest surprises of all 32 teams, that Brian Robinson right now is kind of taken over. Gibbs is going to have to take the job back. This was not their plan for all I can tell you from talking to them, watching them several times. This is not what they wanted, but Gibbs has got to do a better job. And you have to remember the situation at Memphis. Ryan Silverfield, the head coach of Memphis, told me that when he got Gibson in there from community college, he had never been a running back before, but you can't play a 6'1" guy at 225 pounds and play him as a slot receiver. That was not going to work. So for one season, he played running back and he was great, but he needed more time to develop. And I just think what happens here with Gibson is he just is not as developed as Robinson is. And that's why Robinson now is the clubhouse leader. Again, this has been a big surprise. There's no question about it.
Nothing like losing your job at training camp to a draft pick in the backfield. Real quick, I got 45 seconds. The receiver out of Penn State, Dotson, has looked terrific for them.
He's been awesome. He has been yet a good story. He's been one of the best stories of camp. He's dominated. In fact, from pillar to post, he's been, you can argue, the best offensive player in training camp. Doesn't drop passes. Washington told me that. Rarely has a mental error, which is hard. You have to learn another offense. And Scott Turner's running his dad Noor's offense, and they've got a lot of talent here. They've rebuilt their offensive line. If they could get a better running game, and Wentz plays better. Now, I'm told he's come on Wentz here the last couple weeks. Accuracy's better. They could push. They could push for a wild card, but they're not winning that NFC East. And we have not had a repeat winner since 2004 in that NFC East.
Well, tonight we got Ritter and the Falcons against the Jets in New York. It's been raining all day. Great stuff, Adam. Have a good trip.
Later.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour Champion, 2017 World Number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
The Early Line.
Let me help you, NCAA. We will wipe the bowl season out completely. We will put in a 30-team playoff at a minimum. We will wipe out the cupcake schedules, and everybody will eat at the end of the year. More money in your pockets, college football guys. More fun in my pocket here, and a chance for gambling on my end of it. It's a win-win scenario.
On Sports Grid. The morning after.
I look at Deshaun Watson, now at this point, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing, how does he come back? How does he look when he gets back on the field? And, especially more than anything, because we've talked about, hypotheticals time and time and time again of what's the suspension going to be? To actually have an answer, it's almost a little bit of a sense of relief, at least when it comes to the Cleveland side of it.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Chris Olave can give you a lot. Chris Olave is a very polished wide receiver, great route runner, great speed, great hands. He is NFL ready. This guy is just ready, hit the ground running. I think Drake London will go and get a little bit more buzz because of where he was selected. And people say, oh, he's the only guy there. Yeah, he's the only guy there. But it's the island of misfit toys in Atlanta. So you have to understand that. Whereas you have Winston, you have Michael Thomas, you have a more complete offense.
The Sports Grid Network.
All right, fast forward Ferrall in your facial. The Ferrall finish, people are always excited for it. Leeds stuns Chelsea over the weekend, 3-0, as American Brendan Aronson had a huge goal. Leon Edwards stuns the world with the leg kick knockout of Usman. The most dangerous man on the planet finally knocked the F out and finished. You lose. Maybe you'll start putting your T-shirt back on in public. Luke Rockhold retires after losing to Paulo Costa. Usyk beat Joshua by split. Kayla Harrison, it took her about 5 seconds to destroy some rag. 15-0 her record now. She goes to the women's championship match again, which she'll win easily against the chick she beat before. How about this? She's not even ranked number one. The other chick is number one. That she beat her ass and knocked her head off. But they ranked the girl number one because she won 5 fights in a row. How stupid. Fox brings back Urban Meyer, speaking of stupid. That guy should be wiped out. Sister Jean turned $103 yesterday. Everybody got hammered. Topless dancers in North Hollywood want to be unionized. You go, girl. Woman in Oklahoma escapes her cuffs in a police car and shoots a cop with his AR-15. She started firing rounds out of the back of the cop car. This chick was completely lit on meth. Georgia man suspected of raping a woman while posing as a priest. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Yellowstone National Park employee finds a foot floating in a hot spring. Look, Mommy, a foot. World's most extravagant vibrator among stolen items in a Texas sex shop heist. Say that 30 times on a bottle of Belvedere. Mike Tyson said he fueled up on weed and shrooms before his fights. Now it's coming out, huh? Florida teacher arrested for hiding a missing teen in her home for a week. The girl was missing for a week. The teacher had her hiding out at her home. Wonder if there was any shenanigans going on there at Carver High. I just can't have it. TTD is next. We'll see you tomorrow on Coast to Coast. Good night.